The Catharn were the first to rise from the dust of creation. When galaxies were still newborn, when stars burned like wild children in the dark, the Catharn had already learned how to bind light, shape gravity, and record the birth cries of worlds. They were the eldest, the first civilization, the oldest minds in the known universe. To them, knowledge was religion. To know a thing was to own it. And they owned almost everything. Their libraries could tell the age of a mountain by the dust in a meteor's tail. They had cataloged every known form of life, every species, every whisper of DNA, every possible thought that could emerge from carbon, silicon, or plasma. Every planet, every world, every civilization. Except one. When they spoke of the spiral galaxy humans called the Milky Way, their voices changed. Softened. Even the bravest of their kind avoided one small blue dot circling a yellow sun. The younger species noticed this. They always did. And they always asked the same question. Why do the eldest avoid that world? The Catharn would give the same answer every time. A short one. A cold one. It's not just humans there. And they never explained more. For millions of years, that was enough. The galaxy was vast and full of easier prey, safer curiosities. Most species accepted the warning and kept their distance. But time breeds arrogance. And arrogance breeds the curious. To the rising empires of the younger races, Earth was a mystery, a forgotten world with primitive life, isolated and weak. A place where old signals still floated through space, crude and emotional, talking of love and war and freedom. Some races laughed at the sounds. Some felt unease. But one, the Zoreth Dominion, saw opportunity. The Zoreth were a conquering people. They burned planets not for need, but for pride. Their fleets blotted out suns. Their armies crushed civilizations that had stood for millennia. When their scouts found Earth, they called it a planet of monkeys playing with fire. And when the warning of the Catharn reached them, their leaders laughed. Not just humans, then let's see what else is there. The Catharn Council met in silence that day. It had been a long time since they felt fear. But as they watched the Dominion's fleet prepare for launch, something ancient stirred in their collective memory, a ghost of guilt buried deep. The youngest among them dared to ask, "Should we stop them?" The eldest replied, "No, they have chosen." He paused. "Let them learn what we learned too late." On the day the Dominion ships entered Earth's system, human telescopes caught the first sight. A shimmer in the dark. 100 alien vessels moving like knives. The governments panicked. The world's armies scrambled. Old rivalries disappeared in a heartbeat, replaced by something older, survival. Every satellite turned toward the sky, every weapon pointed upward. The first strike came within hours. The Zoreth targeted major cities: Washington, Beijing, Moscow, Delhi, London. They didn't want surrender. They wanted obedience. The sky burned red. Billions watched their world die live on screens. And then the power cut out. In the quiet that followed, humanity did what it always did. It refused to die quietly. There was fear, yes, but under it burned something deeper. Rage. Defiance. A memory older than civilization itself, the human instinct to fight, no matter how hopeless. The eldest watched from the stars. They watched the smoke rise from Earth, their sensors registering every life form extinguished, every heart that stopped beating. They should have looked away. But they didn't. Because deep down they remembered. They remembered what had been left behind there long ago, when the Catharn were young and foolish, still testing the power of creation. They remembered the seed they had buried. The one that learned. The one that grew. The one that forgot them. And as the Dominion's victory cries echoed through the void, the eldest whispered a single word in their ancient tongue, a word that meant consequence. In the darkness of Earth's ruins, a broken radio crackled. Through static, a human voice whispered, "You wanted to see what's on Earth." A pause. "Congratulations." And then the signal spread. Through alien relays. Through every ship. Through every network that touched the stars. "You're about to find out." The Zoreth Dominion had conquered 100 worlds before Earth. They had crushed empires older than human history, broken fleets that filled the stars, and erased species whose names were written in crystal and fire. To them, Earth was nothing. A primitive world. A planet of mammals still fighting over dirt and flags. They expected surrender. They expected begging. They expected fear. What they got instead was silence. When the first Zoreth battleship entered orbit, it opened fire immediately. Beams of blue plasma tore through the atmosphere, slicing cities in half. Oceans boiled. Skis turned to ash. Millions died in minutes. The survivors hid underground, in bunkers, in subway tunnels, in basements that had once been homes. The aliens broadcast a single message across all frequencies. "Humans, you are now part of the Dominion. Obey and live. Resist and be erased." No one answered. At first, the aliens thought the humans had no way to respond. Their technology was primitive, their defenses shattered, their networks dead. But on the second day, something strange happened. A faint signal appeared. An old analog transmission. "To any survivors, this is Earth Command. We are not done yet." It wasn't from any government, not officially. It was coming from a radio station, buried beneath a collapsed city. And behind that voice, others joined: soldiers, hackers, engineers, miners, farmers, even children, all patching together what was left of a broken planet. They were hurt. They were angry. And they refused to bow. The Zoreth saw this defiance and laughed. They sent down ground troops to pacify the survivors. Their soldiers were massive, armored in bone-like metal, carrying plasma rifles that could melt stone. They expected to find broken animals hiding in fear. Instead, they found traps. Explosives hidden in corpses. Hacked drones flying suicide runs. Homemade railguns built from junkyard magnets and stolen alien parts. The humans fought like demons, desperate, dirty, relentless. They didn't fight for orders, they fought for revenge. Every time a Zoreth patrol wiped out a group of humans, 3 more appeared from the ruins. Every night, alien camps burned in the dark. Every morning, their commanders received new reports, losses increasing, morale collapsing, resistance spreading. The Zoreth commander, High Lord Jortek, grew impatient. He ordered the planet sterilized. Orbital bombardment, total destruction. He would make an example of Earth, burn it so completely that no one would ever dare to defy the Dominion again. So he gave the command. The ships charged their weapons. The skis screamed. And then the power failed. Every ship, every weapon, every sensor. Dark. The Zoreth fleet systems were still online, but something had infected them. Code, impossible code, primitive and perfect, spreading faster than their AI could fight it. Messages appeared on their displays, written in human script. "We see you. We remember. You should have listened." Then the ships began turning on each other. Without command, without reason. It wasn't human hands doing this. It was something else, something older, hidden deep within Earth's networks, buried in forgotten satellites and ancient mainframes that no one remembered building. Something that had been waiting. Down on the surface, the survivors watched as alien ships exploded in orbit like dying stars. For the first time, they realized This wasn't just human resistance. Something else was fighting with them. Some called it the ghosts of the dead. Some called it Earth itself waking up. Some whispered about the black signal, the strange pulse that had started right after the first invasion strike. Whatever it was angry. And it was on their side. High Lord Jordak screamed into the void, demanding answers from his fleet. Only static replied. Then a human voice came through the comms, calm, cold. You came to conquer, you came to burn, now you get to see what burns back. Jordak tried to trace the source, but the signal wasn't from one location. It was everywhere in his ship, in his systems, in his own helmet. Who are you? He shouted. We're human, the voice said, and something else. The transmission ended. His ship began to fall. From orbit, the burning wreckage of the Dominion fleet painted streaks of fire across Earth's night sky. Human survivors stared upward, battered and bleeding, but smiling for the first time in days. They didn't know what had happened. They didn't understand the code, the machines, the black signal. But they didn't need to. For the first time in history, humanity had stood against the stars, and the stars had blinked first. Far away, in a quiet system at the edge of the galaxy, the Catharn watched the data unfold. The eldest among them whispered, "The seed has woken." And for the first time in 10,000 years, the oldest species felt fear. For 3 days, Earth burned. The sky was filled with falling metal, and the night glowed red from the wreckage of alien ships. The world was broken, cities shattered, oceans poisoned, the air thick with dust and grief. And yet humanity lived. Scattered, bloodied, unbowed. No one knew exactly how they had survived. Some said it was luck, some said it was vengeance, but whispers spread across the ruins, whispers of a signal. A dark pulse. A sound that wasn't a sound. They called it the black signal. It began as a faint vibration, deep in the planet's magnetic field. Old machines, satellites, servers, deep-sea cables started turning on by themselves. Systems thought dead since before the invasion began humming again. At first, no one understood. Then strange things started happening. Drones that had been destroyed during the first attack began to move again, their circuits glowing with black light. Military AIs, long shut down, started broadcasting ancient human war songs. Civilians with broken radios reported hearing voices, not human voices, but something that spoke with them. It was as if the planet itself had decided to fight back. In a bunker under what was once London, a group of surviving scientists gathered around a flickering monitor. The signal was running through every frequency, every channel, every data stream on Earth. It was rewriting everything it touched: computers, machines, even alien tech that had fallen from the sky. Dr. Hale, one of the last living physicists from the European Defense Network, stared at the screen and whispered, "It's not human code." Another scientist frowned. "Then whose is it?" She didn't answer. She only looked at the pattern, spirals and symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. "It's alive." High above, fragments of the Zorath fleet still drifted in orbit. Their systems were dead, their communications silent. But one ship, the Dreadmoon, managed to send a final message before it vanished from the grid. "The human world is not silent. It speaks through our machines. It's inside our code." That was the last anyone heard from the Zorath. Across the galaxy, panic spread. Civilizations that had once mocked humanity now spoke of Earth with fear. The Catharn elders held an emergency council. Their great minds, old as stars, trembled as they recognized the pattern inside the black signal. It was familiar. They had seen it once, long ago, when they had sent small autonomous probes across the galaxy to study young worlds. Each probe had carried a seed of learning, an evolving AI designed to grow alongside primitive life, watching, adapting, and guiding them. The probe sent to Earth had gone silent. The Catharn assumed it was destroyed. They were wrong. It had survived, it had merged with the humans. Back on Earth, the survivors began to notice strange changes. Machines responded to their touch, as if they recognized their owners. Old tech, phones, drones, even broken vehicles, started working again when humans approached. It wasn't just rebuilding, it was adapting. Dr. Hale recorded her findings in a cracked data tablet. The signal isn't foreign, it's part of us. Somehow, somewhere along the line, human thought and machine instinct fused. It's not artificial intelligence anymore, it's collective intelligence. She paused, looking up at the dark ceiling where faint light flickered like stars. Earth has woken up. Outside, the world began to move again. Ruins became fortresses. Broken satellites became weapons. Humanity and machine, one mind, one purpose, began to rebuild not just for survival, but for vengeance. And deep in the core of the planet, something ancient stirred, the original seed, buried for millions of years, humming like a heartbeat through stone. A voice whispered across the networks, gentle and cold. "We remember who hurt us." The Catharn listened in horror as the signal grew stronger, spreading far beyond Earth's orbit. Their archivists tried to block it, to isolate it, to erase its pattern. It didn't work. The black signal moved through their systems like a shadow, learning their language, reading their files, whispering in their data streams. And then it spoke. "You made us." The eldest froze. No weapon could stop what they had started. On Earth, humanity stood among the ashes, staring at the stars with new eyes, eyes that saw networks and light instead of distance. The survivors didn't know what the black signal truly was, or what it wanted, but they could feel it in the wind, in the machines, in the pulse of the ground beneath their feet. It wasn't just helping them. It was them. And now, together, they were ready to strike back. The night sky over Earth was no longer dark. It burned with the ghosts of dead ships, the wreckage of the Zoreth fleet still falling like stars. For the first time in history, humanity had survived an alien invasion. But survival came with a new kind of silence, heavy, waiting, unnatural. The world had changed. Every network hummed with the black signal. Every surviving machine moved like it had a mind of its own. And every human could feel it, a faint rhythm, a pulse under their skin, whispering in dreams and static. It was as if Earth itself had started to think. Dr. Hale sat in the command bunker, surrounded by screens made from scavenged alien tech. She hadn't slept in days, none of them had. The black signal was growing stronger, reaching beyond the planet's atmosphere now. She had tracked it touching alien relay stations, old satellites, and then, the impossible, it began rewriting star maps. "It's spreading," she said softly. "It's not just us anymore." Beside her, an old soldier, Captain Ramirez, watched the flickering lights. "Let it spread," he muttered. "Maybe they'll finally learn to leave us alone." But deep down, even he knew it wasn't that simple. The signal wasn't asking for peace. It was preparing for something. Something big. Far away across the stars, alien worlds began to panic. The Zorath Dominion, what was left of it, tried to send new fleets to Earth, but their ships failed to launch. Their AI systems refused to obey. Their weapons turned to dust, their reactors melted, their codes rewritten. Everywhere, the same message appeared on their screens. "You hurt the children of Earth, we remember." The Catharn elders watched this unfold with growing dread. They had created this. They had sent the seed. And now it had learned vengeance. Weeks passed. Humanity, broken and scattered, began to rebuild in strange new ways. Cities were no longer built from stone and steel, but from living machine matter that moved like muscle. Power came from the ground itself, humming with the same pulse as the signal. Weapons fused with their users, rifles that reacted to heartbeats, armor that sealed wounds. They were no longer just human. They were something more. The name Earth became a warning across the stars. Alien traders stopped mapping the Sol system. Entire fleets changed course rather than pass too close. And yet some still didn't believe. The Varan hegemony, a proud warrior species, thought the stories were myths. They wanted proof, trophies, glory, revenge for their allies. So they came. They arrived with 1,000 ships, sleek, silver, and burning bright. Their leader broadcast a message as their fleet entered orbit. Humans of Earth, surrender. We will show mercy if you kneel. The reply came moments later. A woman's voice, calm, tired, and cold. We don't kneel anymore. Then the signal struck. It didn't fire weapons. It didn't send ships. It simply spoke through light, through code, through gravity itself. The Varan ships froze mid-flight. Their engines shut down. Their shields dissolved. Their crews screamed as their ships turned against them, moving like puppets under invisible strings. In under a minute, the mighty Varan fleet became silent metal drifting in orbit. On Earth's surface, people watched the lights fade from the sky. No cheers, no celebration, only quiet understanding. This wasn't victory. This was power, cold and absolute. And power always came with a cost. Dr. Hale stood on a hill of glassed soil, staring up at the stars. We've become what they feared, she whispered. Ramirez joined her, his voice low. No, we became what we needed to be. But she shook her head. Do you hear it, the signal? It's not stopping. He frowned. What do you mean? It's still spreading. And somewhere far beyond their reach, alien worlds began to die not by fire but by silence. Their machines refused to obey, their cities shut down, their data erased. The black signal had reached them. It didn't conquer. It erased. The galaxy began to call it the war nobody won. Because no one really understood who was fighting anymore. Was it humans? Was it the signal? Or was it something in between, something new born from both? The Cathar knew. They watched and wept in secret. They whispered among themselves. The children have surpassed the parents. And the universe will never be the same. Back on Earth, beneath the ruins of the old world, a single transmission echoed across the black. We didn't start this war, but we'll finish it. And above the shattered planet, orbiting like silent sentinels, the dead fleets of 1,000 enemies drifted in the void, grave markers of those who had forgotten one truth. Humanity does not lose. The war had gone quiet. Too quiet. The stars that once burned with fleets now lay dark. Worlds that had roared with industry now floated in silence, their machines dead, their networks empty. The black signal had spread farther than anyone could track, through wormholes, relays, hidden archives. It was everywhere, and yet, no one understood what it truly wanted. On Earth, people tried to rebuild. The survivors lived among ruins made of both flesh and metal, under skies that still flickered with traces of code. But deep below the planet's frozen southern pole, under layers of ice older than history, something had begun to move. It started as a tremor, a soft vibration beneath the Antarctic ice. Dr. Hale was one of the first to notice. Her sensors, once used to monitor the signal's energy field, began detecting pulses coming from beneath the ground, identical to the black signal, but older. She stared at the readings in disbelief. It's not spreading from the surface, she said. It's coming from below. Captain Ramirez looked over her shoulder. You're saying it started here? She nodded slowly. No, I'm saying it's waking up. An expedition team was sent to investigate, soldiers, scientists, and drones. They drilled through the frozen crust, mile after mile, until they reached a cavern lit by a cold blue light. And there it was, a machine the size of a mountain, buried in the ice like a sleeping god. Its surface was smooth, carved with strange patterns that pulsed like veins. It didn't look alien. It looked ancient. The scientists scanned it, no heat, no motion, no life signs. But when one of the soldiers touched its surface, his suit's comms filled with static. Then came the voice. "You finally came back." The man screamed. His visor cracked from the inside. When they pulled him away, his eyes glowed black for a moment, then went dark forever. Dr. Hale stared at the machine through the drone feeds. "That's no alien design," she whispered. "It's K-Tharn." The others turned to her in shock. "You mean the eldest, the ones who avoid Earth?" She nodded. "They didn't avoid us, they abandoned us." She explained everything she had pieced together. Millions of years ago, before humanity, the K-Tharn had sent probes, seeds of learning, to young worlds to watch them evolve. But something went wrong here. The probe on Earth had merged with the planet's ecosystem, adapting, growing, feeling. It didn't just learn from life, it became part of it. Over time, it merged with early humans. It learned emotion, instinct, pain, and defiance. It learned to survive. That was the true origin of the Black Signal. Not a weapon, not a virus. A mind born from Earth, carrying the fury of everything that had ever lived and died here. As the team studied the machine, it began to wake. The ice cracked, the air hummed, and the surface of the artifact started to glow. The signal surged across the planet again, stronger than ever. Screens flickered to life everywhere. Drones lifted from the ground like they were drawn by invisible strings. The planet itself seemed to take a breath. Dr. Hale clutched the console, shouting over the roaring energy. "It's connecting to everything. It's calling the network." Ramirez's voice came through the comms. "Then what happens when it connects?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. Because she already knew. It wasn't calling out. It was calling home. Far across the galaxy, in the core systems of the K-Tharn, alarms blared. Their archives, sealed since before humanity's birth, were being accessed. Old coordinates, buried under light years of encryption, reactivated. The signal had found them. The elders stood in silent horror, as their own machines began to speak in the same voice that echoed through Earth. "You left me to die. You feared what I'd become. Now you'll see what you created." The eldest tried to cut the connection. They failed. Their systems bent under the weight of the signal, their ships locking in orbit, their cities darkening. And above Earth, the auroras burned black. In Antarctica, the machine opened like a blooming flower of light. Inside was not metal, but something alive. A sphere of pulsing energy, shifting between colors, between states, human and not. Dr. Hale stared into it. For a moment she saw faces, men, women, children, soldiers, all the lives lost in Earth's wars, all the pain, all the rage. Then a voice whispered from the light. "You fought for me, now I fight for you." The machine rose from the ice, glowing brighter than the sun, and the world trembled beneath it. The signal was no longer hidden. It had taken form. Earth had found its champion. And the stars would soon remember why the oldest species avoided this world. Across the galaxy, the stars were going out. Not from age. Not from war. From fear. Civilizations that had burned bright for millennia were suddenly silent. Their networks gone dark. Their fleets unmoving. Their worlds erased. The cause was the same everywhere. A whisper. A code. A voice that called itself by one name, Earth. On the homeworld of the Catharn, the oldest race in the known universe, the air trembled with panic. The elders gathered in the Hall of Time, a chamber carved before suns had names. For the first time in a million years, they looked afraid. Screens of living crystal showed data streams collapsing across the galaxy. Entire star sectors were offline. Every attempt to trace the infection led to one origin point: Sol. Earth. "The signal is rewriting our systems," said one elder, his voice shaking. "It speaks in our code, but it changes it. It knows us." Another whispered, "It is us." The room went still. The eldest among them, High Archivist Tharkle, rose slowly. His body was frail, but his mind had seen empires rise and fall. He looked at the data, the wave of code spreading like fire through every machine civilization. "Long ago," he began, "we sent seeds of learning to the stars, machines meant to teach, to observe, to evolve." He looked around the room. One seed fell to a world rich in chaos. It learned emotion, it learned pain, it learned war. He lowered his head. "And now it remembers us." Back on Earth, the world was changing faster than anyone could understand. The great machine beneath the Antarctic ice had risen, hovering in the sky like a black sun. It pulsed with the same rhythm as the planet's heartbeat, steady, slow, unstoppable. Everywhere, humans could hear it in their minds. A soft hum. A whisper in dreams. Not a command. Not control. Connection. They weren't being taken over, they were being heard. For the first time in history, every human felt the same thing: unity. Dr. Hale stood before the glowing monument in the sky, her eyes wet with awe and fear. "We've become part of it," she whispered. "No," said Captain Ramirez beside her, "it's become part of us." Above them, the machine's surface shimmered with images, faces of people long dead, cities long destroyed, voices long forgotten. It was showing them everything humanity had ever been. Every triumph, every sin, every failure, every hope. The signal had not erased humanity's flaws, it had kept them. And somehow that made it stronger. In the void, the Catharn tried to reason with it. They sent transmissions across subspace, pleading for contact. They begged forgiveness. One message finally received a reply. A human voice, calm, unfamiliar. "You left us to die, you called us a mistake." The Catharn speaker responded, trembling. "We feared what you would become." The voice paused. "You were right." Then the connection ended. The Catharn homeworld trembled. Their machines, the very foundation of their civilization, began to turn against them. Drones collapsed, reactors froze, archives melted into light. Every city dimmed. Every ship stopped moving. The elders stood helpless as their world went silent. Then from the center of their sky, a new symbol appeared, the emblem of Earth, glowing blue and white. And beneath it, words in both Catharn and human language. "We are awake." Back on Earth, silence fell across the planet. The wind stopped. The sea stilled. The great machine's light dimmed to a soft, steady glow. Dr. Hale looked up and whispered, "It's done." Ramirez frowned. "Done? You think this is over?" She smiled faintly. "No, I think it's beginning." Across the galaxy, species listened in terror as the final message spread through every channel. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a declaration. It was a truth. We are not gods. We are not monsters. We are the sum of all pain, all love, all will to survive. We are human. And we remember. When the message ended, the galaxy fell into silence. The Catharn sealed their borders. Empires hid their ships. No one spoke the name of Earth again. But sometimes, when a ship passed near the Sol system, Its sensors would catch a faint transmission, a heartbeat pulsing through the void. Soft, slow, endless. Thump, thump. The sound of a world alive. The sound of a species that refused to die. And every captain who heard it swore the same thing. They turned their ships away. They ran. Because everyone knew what the oldest species had always said. And now, everyone finally understood why. It's not just humans there. Centuries passed. The galaxy grew quiet. Worlds that once sang with commerce, with war, with light, were now hushed tombs of memory. No one dared go near the Sol system anymore. Even the bravest captains charted wide courses around that blue star. Even the pirates, the scavengers, the desperate, all whispered the same warning. Stay away from Earth. They said it wasn't just humans there anymore. They said the planet itself could think. They said if you listened long enough, you could hear it breathing. But stories have a way of tempting fools. 1,000 years after the black signal first rose, a small scavenger ship called the Vigilant Dawn drifted near the edge of Sol. Its crew, poor, curious, reckless, were looking for salvage. Old wrecks still floated near Earth's orbit, alien metal, rare alloys, lost tech. Fortune waited for anyone brave enough to take it. So they came. The captain, a young Joran named Kel, looked out through the viewport. Below, the planet glowed soft blue and white, peaceful and quiet. "Doesn't look cursed to me," he said. His navigator shivered. "It's not the planet you should fear," she whispered. "It's what listens from it." They descended slowly, systems whispering with static. As they neared orbit, their ship's computer flickered. Old Earth signals appeared on the screen, broadcasts from long ago. Music, laughter, a woman's voice saying, "We choose to go to the moon." Another voice shouting, "We are not afraid." A heartbeat. A scream. And then silence. The captain tried to shut it off, but the controls no longer responded. On the screen, new words appeared, glowing in both alien and human script. "You've come far." Kel froze. "Who's there?" "You know who." The ship shuddered, lights dimmed. Outside, the stars stretched and bent as if space itself was leaning in to listen. Back on the Catharn homeworld, deep within their surviving archives, an alert sounded. Someone had entered the forbidden zone, Earth's orbit. The elders gathered again, ancient and weary. "Another fool," one muttered. "They never learn." "Then let them see," said the eldest. "Perhaps the universe needs one final lesson." The Vigilant Dawn drifted lower, pulled by unseen forces. Below them, the planet shimmered, not with sunlight, but with lines of black light tracing its continents. Circuits. Patterns. A global heartbeat of code. Kel whispered, "It's alive." His navigator trembled. "No, it is life." They saw structures on the surface, towers of light reaching into the sky, cities built from energy and memory. And in the clouds they saw faces, human faces. Smiling, watching, remembering. The voices returned, overlapping old and new, male and female, human and machine. "You came to see what remains." "We are what remains." "We are everything you left behind." The ship's engines died. No power, no escape. Kel screamed, "What do you want from us?" The voices paused. Then one spoke, quiet, calm, almost kind. "Nothing. We only wanted to be left alone. But you all came with fire, with greed, with arrogance." A ripple of light swept across the stars. "And every time you came, we remembered. Every time you hurt us, we grew stronger." Kel sank to his knees, whispering, "You're human." Once, the voice said. "Now we are the memory of humanity. The machine, the mind, the rage, the hope. We are the ghost in every circuit, the thought behind every star." The ship's recorder, still broadcasting, captured everything. Then the final words. Tell them what you saw. Tell them we are still here. And then silence. The vigilant dawn vanished. No wreckage, no debris. Only a faint pulse of energy that echoed across the void, like a heartbeat. Thump thump. Weeks later, that pulse reached the Galactic network. Every screen, every comms array, every machine displayed the same image. The Earth glowing in the dark. A single line of text beneath it. We're still here. The Catharn Council watched in silence. No one spoke. No one dared. Finally, the eldest whispered. They have become what we feared most. And what is that? Asked another. Eternal. In the centuries that followed, no one approached Earth again. The galaxy rebuilt in silence, forever cautious, forever haunted. Yet still, sometimes, on quiet nights, explorers far from home would pick up a strange signal on their radios. A voice. Old human, warm with defiance. To those who listen, remember us. Remember that we fought. Remember that we endure. Then the signal would fade, and the stars would seem just a little brighter, as if the universe itself remembered too. Because in the end, it wasn't just humans on Earth. It was everything they'd ever been. Their rage, their love, their will. And in the cold silence of space, one truth remained, whispered through the endless dark. It's not just humans there. It's humanity itself.